Welcome back to another reading and correcting with me, Kindar, the Tiger Lights, and Ty, the Tiger Supervisor. These are where I read a chapter from one of my books and correct it as I go. If you want to listen live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. And if you're looking to support me, that is on my Patreon. Today we are doing chapter 6 of A Series of Death. The neighborhood Tremper walked through looking for the address the caller had given him was lower middling from what he could see. Well-trimmed yard with older cars, and the people he did see were a mix of older prey and predators. Parents, probably staying with younger generation for protection. He was still curious why the person who'd found the body had called him directly instead of giving the location through the usual call-in number. It sounded older, so he could be one of those people who didn't like automated systems. He sounded scared, and when Trember asked for his connection to the body, he sounded scared, and when Trember asked for his connection to the body, had suddenly disconnected. Older and causing an accidental death was rare, but it could explain the situation. The house was better looking, further back from the street than the others, the siding a more vibrant green, recently repainted. One of the more successful people in the area. The house was larger and reminded him of the one he and Mark. He growled at himself. Why did everything remind him of the wolf? Well, it was done. Trember was done with him. He turned onto the path leading to the house and stilled. A black wolf in a light brown suit stood by the door, waiting. The wolf pressed the buzzer as Trember watched. The wind shifted and brought him the scent. His hackle rose, and he stumped to the house. What are you doing here? He demanded. Marlot spun, surprised, then looked guilty. Trem! His expression brightening. It's so good to see you. What are you doing here? Drop the act, Tremor snapped. This is my territory and you know it. He looked around, made a show of seeming surprise. It is? Sorry, I was more focused on finding the house than. What are you doing here? Trevor growled, fighting against getting closer, getting more of the wolf's scent. Had he arranged this? How many times had Gorek accidentally crossed Tremper's path after that last hospital stay, looking just as surprised, wanting to catch up, and trying to convince him to come back home with him? Had the wolf gotten in some old nail to call? Was that why he sounded nervous? The revenue department system glitched again. Mello said, something so put on it had to be an act. I got mail. This mail's lost ID card. I'm starting to wonder if they're doing it on purpose. Right, that again. How convenient. Mello couldn't have set this up this far ahead, could he? Was the whole lost card thing just in case this happened? No. Marlot was smart, but he wasn't that conniving. The wolf looked at the card, took a card out, and showed it to him, just as if to justify his presence. The picture of a coyote was visible in one corner. I am no longer complaining about it, he said, all smiles. How are you doing? How are the others? Are the cubs as much of a terror as they were the last time I was there? My family is none of your concern, Trimber growled. Marlot laughed at a joke Antolin made. The sound, in the context of the family, was so good, as he'd been trying for so long to convince Marlot to come to a dinner. Damn it, Trem, I'm working, he snapped. And if I wanted to talk to you, I'd call. Now, did you set this whole thing? Did you set up this whole thing? The old mail to call. Is there even a body here? What? The wolf had the audacity of looking affronted. I'd never do that. You know me better than. Tremper snorted. Sure. You'd love for me to think that, wouldn't you? He pushed the wolf aside and banged on the door. Now leave. I have work to do. No one's answering, the wolf said. The car is in the parking by the road. The car in the parking by the road is Arlen Shines, so he should be home. How do you even know his name? Trevor demanded, and the wolf raised the card still in his hand with the name printed on it. Right, of course he knew the name. The wind shifted again, and the wolf's scent filled his nose, making it more difficult to think of anything other than burying his muzzle in his neck. Why didn't the damn wolf keep his distance? Smelled good, Trevor noted. You didn't leave me a choice. The words resounded in his head. He couldn't tell which one of them said it this time, but it helped him remember the wolf wasn't here for anything good. Forced himself to see Gorek instead of the wolf. The lion was easier to hate. How do you know which car is his? You know what? He answered immediately. Never mind, I don't want to know. Same as with how you found out where he lives. There are laws against what you did to find these out. He banged on the door harder. Mr. Shines, he called. No sound came from the other side of the door. I can unlock the door for you, the wolf offered as Trembor looked it over. An older model with the keypad worn to the point the numbers weren't legible on 5 of the keys. It would make it easier for anyone to break in. Trembor stepped back and kicked the lock. The wolf barely pulled his hand away as he'd reach for it. What the fuck, Trem? You could have hit me. Then you should leave, Trembor replied. You're intruding on my territory. Cut the door as it bounced back and stepped into the house. He stood in the kitchen and looked at the counters. The scoffing on the floor where the preparation table went when in use, dirty dishes in the sink. To the right was the living room, an entertainment center with a large screen, a bookcase with books and pictures on them. 2 coyote, male and female, similar age. There was a recliner on which was a plate with dried blood and scraps of meat. He stepped to it and sniffed. Cooler burns, less than a day old, probably less than 12 hours. The hall separating the two rooms led to a washroom on the left and a large bedroom on the right. Facing it, the bed was unmade, clothing strewn on the floor. A glass with a remnant of blood and alcohol on the bedside table. Whoever this Shines was, neat wasn't it? The second room on the left was an office, and where Mr. Shines lay on the floor, head bent at an unnatural angle. Broken neck would be the cause of death, he guessed. He breathed in from the doorway, multiple scents, too present in the rest of the house, one more stale than the others, and with hint of a female in it. The one in the pictures? Another scent was recent, filled with adrenaline, not fear, excitement, anger. He couldn't tell anything else. He stepped in. The desk had been moved, leaving scratches on the floor. The desk chair was overturned. The computer was on the floor, but intact. Paper were all over the place. No blood anywhere. It was rare that a fight with this clear level of violence didn't leave blood. He crouched next to the body and examined it. Marlot Shines was a muscular coyote under the loose shirt. His left leg and right arms were broken. His open eyes were bloodshot. He'd been suffocated before the neck was broken. Had the goal been to render him unconscious and thing had gotten out of hand? At least he didn't make the killer's job easy, someone said, and Trembor stood, snarling at the intruder in his territory. The wolf tilted an ear quizzically. What are you still doing here? He demanded, hating himself for having forgotten he was there. If you set 1 foot in this room, I'm having you arrested for interference. Is that clear? Hey, I didn't do this, the wolf protested. When I kill someone, I pay for them. Trevor knew that, but he wanted an excuse to throw the wolf in a cage and forget he existed. I find 1 strand of your fur in here and you're a suspect at a minimum. If you don't want to have to deal with that, get off my territory. The cursed wolf didn't move. He didn't even have the decency of being offended. Trem, when you're done, can we talk? There's nothing to talk about. He turned back to the body and put gloves on. You walk out on me for no reason and you won't. No reason? Trevor snapped, pulling his hand away from the coyote's arm. Oh, right. I'm the one at fault here. How could I have forgotten that? Marlot Blacklaw never does anything wrong, never breaks a law, never hacks his way into other people's paths. What does that have to do with anything? The wolf demanded. I'm a techhead. You love that about me. Trevor glared at the wolf over his shoulder. No, I don't. You have no respect for the law or order, no respect for other people. The only thing that matters to you is getting your own way. Now get the fuck out of my crime scene. Trem, the wolf said, having the gall to sound hurt. Trevor took his pad out. I'm calling the enforcers to secure the scene. He should have done that from the start, but the wolf had distracted him. If you're still here by the time I'm connected, I'm telling them you're a suspect. Eyes on the wolf, he entered the number and put the pad to his ear. The wolf looked like he'd protest, but as he was connected, he turned and laughed. Enforcer dispatch, a male Trembor recognized, said. Artel? The reply took a few seconds. Trembor? Now that's a voice I never thought I'd hear again. What are you doing? What are you doing calling us directly? Did you come to your senses and return within the fold? Please say yes. I have money on this. There was a betting pool on if it returned to the enforcers. I am working, and calling dispatch helped make a point to someone bothering me. I have a scene I need secured. He gave the coyote's address. I'm still walking through it, and I've yet to contact my examiner. You know Jaxka? Red Frog, right? Artel said, tapping a poisonous. I've heard of him. Let the officer know he is allowed in. He disconnected and looked at the empty doorway. He wanted to go after the wolf, to sit down and listen to his explanations. They'd make sense, be perfectly reasonable. He suspected that Marlot wouldn't even make Trembor the culprit. It would be some innocent misunderstanding. It'd be a lie. It would be a lie. He ground his teeth and looked at the body. Marlot would say anything to get Trembor back in a position he could be controlled. I have the worst luck in a relationship, he told the dead coyote. You know that? I'm guessing you and that female in the picture didn't have to go through what my two loves put me through. He called Jaxka, then began the examination that would tell him what had happened in this room and hopefully why. Resolving these cases was always so much easier when he knew why the death had occurred and why the body had been left to rot. And this concludes Chapter 6 of A Series of Death. If you are enjoying this, please leave a like. If you want to know when the next chapter is going to be up, subscribe and hit the bell. If you want to read the book as well as the rest of the books in the series, they are available on all major e-retailers. If you're looking for a different way to support me, that's on my Patreon. And if you want to listen to these live, it's every Tuesday morning, 8 a.m. Eastern Time on Twitch. The links are in the notes, and with that, I shall wish you a good day.